Jeff Nippard is reacting to my pull workout and ranking it between S tier and F tier. Now, unfortunately, Jeff isn't actually going to be reacting to my workout. I'm going to be using his tier list system to rate my workout. Now, I'm doing my pull day today. I'm going to do a part 2 where I do my push day and then a part 3 where I do my leg day. So for my pull day, I'm mainly going to be focusing on my main pull day, which is where I work out my delts, my back, my lower back, my biceps, and a bit of my forearms. That's what I'm going to be focusing on, and that's what we're going to be reviewing today. So I'm going to be starting off with my favorite exercise, which is the lat pull down. I do a wide grip variation, and Jeff seems to think this exercise is S tier. Let's go.
Wide grip pull down is our first exercise being awarded the S tier.
Don't think my form is going to be as optimal as his, but I'm still quite happy with my overall form for the most part. And obviously if I'm ego lifting, then my form goes to shit and the exercise is a waste of time. Now moving on to the next exercise, I like to incorporate a wide grip pull up in my pull day, as I just think it's a very easy compound movement. You can do it without any gym equipment. It's very easy to overload, and not necessarily it's the best beginner friendly one, especially if you've never done it before. But for someone like myself who's been going to the gym for 2 years now, it's quite easy for me to do, and I can really increase the reps, or I can add weight to it if I need to, and I can really focus on the contraction that I feel in my back. Just hits it so well.
Wide grip pull-ups are going in A tier.
Now moving on to the next exercise, I really enjoy the chest supported plate loaded row, as this is my favorite. I also do add a barbell row. I'll talk about that later, but this is my main rowing movement, and the one I've got at my gym at Derrimut, it's one of the best machines I've used. I feel the contraction every single time, and Jeff rates this as the best back exercise, which I really like to hear. That makes me feel like I'm actually doing the right exercises, because sometimes when you're in the gym you're thinking, hey, is this really working me out? But I definitely feel the contraction. If you guys don't have this in your workout, I'd highly recommend it, as it's quite easy to do, very easy to overload. And I do it one-handed, some people do it two-handed, but one hand, I feel like I get way more of a contraction and more control.
So out of the S tier list, if I had to crown just one exercise as the best of the best, I think I'd go with a chest supported row. It's just so good for smashing both the lats and the mid-back, and there's so many effective ways to do it.
Now, the next exercise is the lat pullover. I don't do this every single time, but I like to vary up my workout sometimes, as it gets a little bit stale, and I feel like if I do this exercise once or once every 2 weeks, I feel a really good contraction and I really enjoy it, and it's the lat pullover. This one is a machine. You kind of strap yourself in here. If you're not strapping yourself in, it works out your abs because it's almost like a crunch. But I really feel this in my back, and he's rated the cable version A tier. I'm happy to call this a B or an A tier. I generally think it's an A tier for myself. It's probably not the most optimal workout, but it's really fun to do.
Your lats at the bottom and very little tension at the top. Now, this isn't such a bad thing though, because the stretch is most likely the most anabolic part of the range of motion anyway. So as long as you cut out the very top end of the range of motion, I'd also put these in A tier.
Now moving on to the next exercise. For me, and Jeff's probably ranked this probably the worst out of all the exercises that I'm doing, probably because it activates different muscles when you're doing it, especially if you're not doing it perfectly. This is the barbell row. The barbell row for me, I've enjoyed. I've done it for quite a while. I kind of do it a little bit less than I normally, and I used to do it because it's not as optimal, but it's still fun to do, as you're able to put a little bit of weight on, and the row and the contraction in your lower back for me is personally quite good. But yeah, sometimes, like you said, your calf, your quad, other muscles in your back can contract, but it's also kind of good to vary it up a little bit, because if you're doing the same chest supported row every single time, you're just not going to build some of these stabilizer muscles, and it's just going to get a little bit boring. So I usually do this once a week or once every 2 weeks in my workouts, just depending on how I'm feeling and what I want to do. But yeah, B tier is alright. Personally, I'm probably going to phase it out a little bit less, just watching his videos now on it. But if you guys want to do it, go ahead. It's not too bad of an exercise. It's just not optimal as such.
So the standard barbell row is going in B tier.
So moving on to the next exercise, it's going to be focused on my delts now. And I have to say, this lateral raise that I do, and Jeff's talked about plenty of times, he's ranked it S tier. and I completely agree with him. It's definitely one of my favorite exercises to do, as I feel the contraction in my lateral side the most, as I just genuinely think it's a really good exercise and everyone should do it. Making sure where you attach the cable isn't all the way at the bottom, put a few things up, and then you're really just contracting and it's under tension the whole time. As well, for me personally, because I'm not going to be buying, what's it called, like cuffs with a clip on, I just use my straps that I use for my back workout. I weave it through that and I'm able to hold it in the middle, and I'm able to put it around my wrist and get the same thing as these cuffs that he uses. And it's just a really good like pro tip. I've seen some people at my gym that are like 3 times the size of me doing that, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna copy them. They seem to know what they're doing and it works really well for me.
You really can't go wrong with a cable lateral raise, whether you do them with a standard D handle or with cuffs, and that's why they're going straight to S tier.
So now moving on to my rear delts, and this is probably, again, one of my favorite exercises, which I include. I've never really liked the one where you like push out like that with your rear delts. I feel like this one, I worked out yesterday and I'm still bloody sore, and just filming myself, you can just see the contraction of the rear delt so easily, and you just know you're working it out, especially when you look at it on the film and it's bloody sore. The reverse cable crossover is essentially like almost OP for rear delts. I literally do 3 and a bit kilos, or even drop it down to like 1 kilo, and I still feel the contraction so much. I've only really added this to my workout recently. I've done a slight different variation to Jeff. His is a little bit higher, but mine is a little bit lower because I feel like it being lower, it's always under contraction. For me personally, I find my delts are always contracting when it's at this low, and I don't have to go as far back as he does. And now this might mean that I need to change and try it higher up. But personally, from my experience, when I've done it lower, I felt the delts more, and it just really works out those rear delts. Now moving on to biceps for my pull day. It's biceps and forearms, and I genuinely think my biceps are probably one of the strongest part of my physique, and for most part, I'm obviously going to listen to what Jeff has to say here, but I feel like both of my exercises are probably around the S to A tier. So I do preacher curl with the easy bar, and Jeff personally hasn't ranked it with the easy bar. He's done a weighted loaded machine, and we don't have that at my gym, or we do, but I just prefer it with the easy bar. For me, the easy bar, I just get more of a contraction, and it just feels a little bit more raw, and especially with your arms planted against the bench thing, you're still getting a good contraction. It's not like your form's really going anywhere as such, and you're able to really extend the biceps out. And now obviously if you're too heavy, then your biceps are gonna snap. But for me, I've never had that problem before because I'm not ego lifting as such. So the easy bar preacher curl for me is generally my favorite bicep exercise. I've been doing it for like 2 years now, and yeah, I'm never gonna not do it. It's probably one of my go-to bicep workouts. If I could recommend someone, if they could just do one bicep workout a week, that's what I would recommend. And then I like to do that once a week, and then my other variation for my bicep is a hammer curl. It's not a regular hammer curl, it's one at a time on the preacher bench, because you really get the contraction, and this one hits your forearms quite a lot. I don't personally focus my forearms because it works out a little bit doing my back day, and I personally don't see the need to devoting 2-3 exercises to working my forearms out, where I'm quite happy with how they look in proportionate to my body. Now with the hammer curl, Jeff also has ranked both of these exercises S tier, and I'm not surprised, as I generally think my biceps are the strongest part of my body, and I feel like the contraction I get from this is just crazy. Like the burn you feel, you know, when you have the workout and you just feel the burn and you just like know it's really working well. That's how I feel with both of these bicep exercises.
They're easily going in S tier. And so hammer grip preacher curls are going in S tier.
So in conclusion for the video, pretty much everything is in S tier, which I'm actually really happy with. Obviously it's all his opinion, and it might not mean anything if they're all S tier, because I could be working out wrong, or I couldn't be eating enough food. Unfortunately, I've been sick for the last 6 weeks, so I hadn't really been able to work out for a while, so I've lost quite a bit of muscle mass from that. But we're back at it, trying to upload every single day. If you guys have enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe.